As a child, I imagined art to be drawing and painting and sometimes, molding things with my hands, like sculpting, but I would have never started to create things like this if I didn't have that experience as a pastry chef. So it has definitely molded me and shaped me into the artist that I am. I've been an artist pretty much all my life. Ever since I could pick up a pencil, it's been something that's been within me because I was surrounded by it. My father, extremely talented artist. My older brothers, one brother who majored in studio art at UVA. He was someone I really looked up to. His name was Zachariah. I can't even imagine when I learned how to create, but it was just always something that was within me, And so I've always just wanted to explore it. I ended up attending Valley Tech, which was a technical school. And I was drawn to the culinary program just because I've always loved food. I always loved watching my mom in the kitchen and seeing her, create things, almost making something out of nothing sometimes. And so food was always a passion of mine too. And I decided to focus more in the baking pastry arts part of it just because I knew that it had so much to do with art. There were so many similarities between baking and pastry and the arts, and I would be able to use my artistic skills. Start my own business at one point, did some baking and pastry from home, baking cakes, specialty wedding cakes and birthday cakes. And then I was always doing art on the side, so I always had some sort of studio practice on the side. Sometimes it was in my home. When I lived in DC, I had a small studio up at DC Art Studios. So here's the backstory on it. I was just sort of burnt out doing all of these cakes from home. It was, it kind of just took over my entire life in a way because it's in your home, and so you can't get away from it. At one point, I just got so tired of being burnt out, and I was like, okay, I don't think I'm gonna do this anymore. I'm just gonna take a break from it. And everyone around me was looking at me like I was betraying myself. But for me, I was like, I'm taking care of myself because I really felt I needed a break. And surprisingly, it wasn't like a really hard decision for me. I felt that, I had grown to the point where I either needed to expand into a commercial kitchen, get out of my home, being surrounded by this in home, or go and just learn a little bit more, do some traveling and work under some pastry chefs to really learn more. When I moved to DC, I knew that I didn't really want to be doing my art in my home anymore. I wanted a separate space where I could just, go crazy, make a mess and not have to worry about it. And so I found a studio space that facilitated studios for over 100 artists. Moving my way up into the pastry field, I was learning a whole lot. I was able to kind of apply what I learned in business school to what I was doing and using my artistic skills in what I was doing. So bringing all of these worlds together, found myself once again just feeling burnt out. I don't know, I just kept feeling like I wasn't in the studio as much as I wanted to be. I had so many ideas, but I didn't have the time to actually put them, bring them to fruition. And so I just felt like I needed to at least ease out of being so fully committed to my baking and pastry career. I wasn't technically out of the pastry game, but because of COVID, I had all the time in the world just to be in the studio and create art. And so it was just like a big door that opened for me and I didn't have to do anything. And so I was in the studio hardcore for like most of 2020 and 2021. Although I did go back to my pastry job in 2021, it was short-lived. I ended up just saying, I'm gonna have to call it quits. For me, the creative process is sort of a release. It kind of lets out any negativity or stress that might be in my mind and just helps me to get it all out. And so it was really great to have that place for me to go after work or whenever I had extra time, just go be in the studio and create. So yeah, the whole journey that I've gone through, it's definitely brought me to the point where I am, where I'm able to create what I am doing with this particular medium, especially with gypsum. It's so similar to like the consistency of cake frosting. So the very first time I started to work with it, it felt familiar. I didn't have to do a whole lot of learning in terms of how to work with it because I already had those skills. And so it's very important to, look at my pastry journey and to understand how I'm doing what I'm doing now, even down to the tools that I use. Sometimes I have like tools from the kitchen here in the studio to kind of accomplish the different textures and techniques that I need to. So it definitely informs, my past definitely informs the present.